Ready or not, here it comes. This spring equinox is where it all starts to become real. What you feel starts translating into action, alignment turns into reality, what has remained internal starts showing up externally. You've already changed, and now life has to follow. And this is the point where you can no longer stay in, I feel it, but I'm not acting on it. And to understand why this moment feels like this, you have to look at what has been building over time. At its core, the past 12 months have been a movement away from control, from analysis, from trying to manage outcomes, towards intuition, trust, and allowing things to unfold. Astrologically, this was reflected in the Virgo Pisces axis, which I explained in my previous video. In short, Virgo is about control, fixing, organizing. Pisces is about surrender, intuition, and letting go. And this axis has gradually pushed many people out of control-based ways of operating into a deeper reliance on intuition. Over the past year, the feminine energy has been opening the field, sensing the vision, and feeling the deeper truth of where life wants to move, while the masculine has been going through a process of releasing control, overthinking, and the attempt to manage life through effort. And what has been shifting recently is how these two energies relate to each other. The masculine energy can no longer operate through control or strategy, and instead begins to orient through resonance, while the feminine energy has been clearing the field, becoming quieter, making that direction easier to recognize. Several eclipses on that Pisces-Virgo axis have revealed karmic patterns and have created a very specific state. Clarity is there, you can feel what is right, you can see more clearly, but you're not moving yet. You're not acting on it yet. And right before this spring equinox, we had this Pisces new moon. This acted as a clearing point. Emotionally, things started to release, confusion started to fall away, and the internal field quieted down. Not because everything is suddenly solved, but because what we needed to process has been processed. And this new moon prepared us for what is coming next. The equinox is the moment where everything starts to move. Astronomically, an equinox is the moment when the length of day and night is exactly equal. And this happens twice a year. And on March the 20th, it marks the beginning of spring in the Northern Hemisphere. And in astrology, this is also the beginning of a new yearly cycle because the sun moves into Aries. Aries is the first sign of the zodiac, and it represents initiation, action, and the start of movement. So the equinox is not just a seasonal shift, it's a point where energy moves from stillness into action. And now, after all of these eclipses of the past year, this movement comes from truth that feels stable, from impulses that feel simple, guided, direct, actions from alignment with our soul. And around the time of the equinox, Mercury also turns direct. When Mercury is retrograde, our mind is busy processing, decisions are unclear, communication is unstable. But when Mercury turns direct, thinking becomes clearer, decisions can be made more easily, and communication stabilizes. So the field is not only clearing emotionally after the Pisces new moon on March 19th, it's also becoming more defined and mentally usable. In masculine and feminine terms, the feminine energy remains open, receptive, intuitive, and able to register what is true, while the masculine energy becomes more capable of defining, choosing, and acting without getting lost in fog, delay, or over-processing. The key change here is usability, direction, and clear implementation. And after the equinox on March the 20th, several planetary alignments happen within a short time. Around the 22nd, Mars forms a trine with Jupiter. And a trine means that they are approximately 120 degrees apart from each other in the sky. And this is considered a harmonious angle, meaning that the two planets support each other's expression. Mars represents action, movement, drive, decision-making, and Jupiter represents growth, expansion, opportunity, meaning, and direction. So when Mars forms a trine with Jupiter, action and growth are aligned. So effort tends to lead somewhere productive. In practical terms, it becomes easier to take action without resistance, and decisions can lead to visible progress. There is a sense of momentum going on. Mars is still in Pisces, so he's still operating in a Piscean way, but Jupiter is direct in Cancer, which makes this less about forcing and more about supported forward movement. And this can look like the masculine energy becoming more willing to act on what has already been felt, sensed, or internally recognized without needing total certainty first. So this is not harsh linear action. It is more like confidence growing around what has already been felt. And then around March 23rd, 24th, the Sun forms a conjunction with Neptune right after entering Aries. And that matters because Aries normally wants clarity, separation, initiative, but Neptune softens and diffuses that. So even as a new cycle begins, it does not begin in a purely sharp or forceful way. The new Aries impulse is immediately infused with intuition, sensitivity, permeability. So the masculine energy is beginning to initiate, but is still being shaped by the Piscean, Neptunian atmosphere. And in practice, that can look like action arising from subtle inner certainty rather than from mental arguments. Around March the 28th, Saturn forms a sextile with Pluto. And that is the point where this whole process starts becoming structurally real. Saturn in Aries supports disciplined self-definition and implementation, while Pluto in Aquarius is about a deeper systemic change. The masculine energy here starts becoming capable of holding it over time, organizing around it, and giving it durable form. And this is also where the feminine can stop carrying everything as feeling, sensing, and inner holding alone, because there is more actual containment, steadiness, and structure available. I don't know how this makes you feel when you hear that, but for me it's like, finally. And then Venus will enter Taurus on March the 30th, which shifts the emphasis from expression and emergence into stabilization, embodiment, value, consistency. This is where the feminine energy becomes less about clearing, less about volatility, and more about grounded receptivity, self-worth, sustained embodiment. This is not just about I feel something, but it becomes about I can live this, I can hold this, and I can build my life around this. And that in turn gives the masculine energy something more stable to support and protect. Now, I want to add here at this point that when I talk about the masculine and feminine energies, most of you who have already watched several of my videos know that I mean masculine and feminine energy inside of us, our own inner polarity, which can, of course, also be expressed externally. But we all have these two energies within us, and the purpose is to balance them, to integrate them, so that we can start to live from this beautiful, sovereign state of being, of inner union. So after the Pisces new moon has cleared the fields, the post-equinox astrology helps the inner masculine to become clearer, more directed, more structurally available, while the feminine becomes less flooded and more grounded. So the result is a better cooperation, clear direction, more trustworthy impulses, more capacity to translate inner truth into a lived reality. From March into the early summer, the emphasis is no longer on awakening or processing or being activated or emotional breakdown, but instead the focus shifts to integration, action, and real-life decisions. This is the phase where the internal changes begin to shape external reality, and it's going to become almost impossible to stay in just inner feeling, just doubting, remaining insecure. No, we're really being pushed, being invited to start living from what we feel on the inside. We're really being invited to learn how to hold direction while our emotions and thoughts and old patterns can still move through our system, but to really act on what you already feel is true without falling back into overthinking or control. And that is exactly the process I work with in my Sacred Union course, developing the capacity to stabilize what has already been activated or awakened through this connection with a divine counterpart or twin flame, so that this inner alignment can start to take form in your daily life, to really act from the best version of you, to really create your life from the inside out. So this Sacred Union course is a structured 3-month journey where we work with the Tree of Life and 11 keys. And each key represents a capacity that gradually allows this integration to stabilize more deeply, to really move from that state of being awakened, activated, into a state of sacred union from the inside out. And each of the modules of the course, it includes a video where I go deeper into the energetic and psychological meanings of the key. There is also a chapter of my book, Living Sophia, which is based on my own journey, where you can see how this process unfolds in real life. And then there is also an integration moment included, such as a meditation or reflection exercises, so that you're not just understanding these things mentally, but you actually really bring it into your own experience. The course opens on Saturday, March 21st. Right after the equinox, and there is currently a launch prize available that will go up after the launch. So if you feel that now is your moment to integrate everything that has been awakened through that beautiful connection, if you feel that now is the moment to really choose you, to devote yourself to your spiritual process, if you feel that you're ready, you're so very welcome to join. So take a moment to really look at your own experience right now. Where do you feel that clarity? Where do you already sense direction, even if you haven't fully acted on it yet? And what happens if you trust that just a little bit more? I would really love to hear how this is showing up for you in this moment. What is the direction that your soul is asking you to take? I would love to hear, so please share in the comments. And as always, thank you so much for listening. Sending you a lot of love. Bye.